Hi, I'm Clarke.
And I'm Justin.
And we're the Softbrains.
Our brains are soft, and hopefully yours are too. And let's go.
If they're not soft already, they soon will be.
They soon will be. Our brains are pretty soft. All right, you can go ahead.
Well, I think that we should give the two people who will listen to this, we should give them a little background on what we are doing here. So, here's the idea. Justin brings an interesting story to the podcast, and Clarke brings an interesting story to the podcast. One of which will probably be better than the other. You decide.
All right, so that's the gist of things. Clarke, why don't you start? You wanted to go first with your story. She's been talking about it all week. And let's see how good it is.
Well, I was pretty excited to share it. It's a good story. I mean, right. I think so anyway. I think that... Okay. Well, I'm just noticing that your bar is a lot bigger than my bar.
What do you mean my bar?
Either I need to talk louder or you need to talk quieter.
Why are you looking at the bars? Oh, see, my bar... You're right. I've got a way bigger bar than you have. Are you in the awe at the size of my bar?
Ha! That was me being in awe.
Okay.
It's okay.
We'll figure it out as we go. We're kind of winging it, so...
We don't know how to podcast.
And hopefully the mouse clicks and everything aren't too loud either, so...
Well, don't click the mouse. Stop it.
I don't think they showed up. All right, it's your turn. What did you bring?
He just clicked the mouse.
All right.
Okay, so this is the story of the Dreadnaught Hoax.
Indy does need outside, so keep going.
No, I'm not going to keep going.
Come on, Indy.
Organic, raw, unedited.
She couldn't wait, okay? This is real life, unedited, raw and uncut, like my big bar.
Included with squeaky office chair. Featuring squeaky office chair.
This chair is a good chair. We've had it for quite a long time, but it serves us well.
Well, it was from the thrift store to be... No, we got it off of Kijiji.
Kijiji, yeah.
That's right. But that's a squeaky ass chair.
Yeah.
So this is the Softbrains.
Why did you have it so high?
Squeaky ass chair. Because I don't want to sit low, like I'm underneath the desk, like I'm some type of...
But that's how you're supposed to sit.
Not that I have anything against dwarfs.
You're not supposed to hover above the desk while you're using the keyboard and the mouse.
But it's better for your wrists if you're above the desk. Ergonomics, Justin, look it up.
My wrists...
Stop slamming your wrists against the table.
They're where they need to be. Unless you're too small. That could be it.
I feel like I'm a fucking child sitting below the desk and looking up at the computer
I'm a monster,
screen.
So...
When I worked in Korea, there... Always at the desk, the chairs would be as low as they could go.
Oh, yeah.
Because everyone in Korea is so small.
So small. All right.
Okay.
So, back to it,
So this is the story of the Dreadnaught Hoax. Okay. Have you ever heard of this?
No, I have not.
Okay.
It sounds like a pirate game. Dreadnaught Pirates.
It's funny that you say pirates.
Ooh. Spicy. Let's go.
Foreshadowing. So, have you ever heard of Horace de Vere Cole?
No, I have not.
Okay, so this is kind of more the story of his life, but he was the person behind the Dreadnaught Hoax.
Okay.
So, this guy was around in the
early... What was his name again?
I can't say it right. Horace de Vere Cole. They just refer to him as Cole in this.
Cole, not Horace?
Not Horace. Cole is cooler.
They're not on a first name basis.
Wikipedia was not on a first name basis with Horace de Vere Cole.
All right.
Okay, so he's around in the early, 19th century. Sorry, early 20th century. We're talking early 1900s here.
I make that confusion.
I don't know time.
Brains are soft. Soft brain engaged.
Now we understand the title. Everyone's going, ah.
Yeah.
Okay, so... First thing you need to know about Horace de Vere Cole is that he is a prankster, a troll, if you will. He likes to pull practical jokes, okay? So, this is when he was pretty young, because, this is when he was pretty young. He might have been like a teenager. I'm not exactly sure how old he was, but he's been just a hooligan since the beginning of time. So just an example of some of the pranks that Cole has pulled in the past.
So this guy's a pirate?
He's not a pirate. He's a prankster.
Okay, prankster pirate.
Not a pirate.
Horace the prankster pirate.
Okay, so one thing that he did was that he was friends with this newly elected member of parliament named Oliver, and he challenged him to a race in London to the nearest street corner as like a 10-yard dash or whatever. So he lets him get a little bit of head start, but he slipped a gold watch into his pocket. So then the guy starts running, and Cole starts yelling, "Stop, thief!" Troll. And then a policeman stopped and detained this Oliver fellow. So then Cole went up, and he's like, "Oh, it's all a joke. It's all a joke, cop. Don't worry about it." Whatever. So the cop's like, "Okay, proceed on your way quietly. Get out of here. I won't arrest you this time." And then Cole walks away, and he starts to wave his stick, like his cane, around in a dangerous manner as though conducting an imaginary band, and both men were then arrested and taken into custody.
Time was different back then.
So they didn't get arrested for like saying like, "Stop, thief, there's he's stealing my watch," fake prank. But they got arrested for waving a stick in the air.
That sounds about right.
Yeah.
You never know.
He also used to walk around with a cow's udder in his pants, and he would take the udder out of his pants to make it look like a ween.
So just a singular udder, not like a set of udders, just one udder.
Just one to look like a penis.
But did hot dogs exist back then?
Did what?
Hot dogs?
I don't know.
When was the hot dog invented?
This is when we need Jamie the intern.
Oh, man. Jamie, pull that shit up. All right. A hot dog, also spelled hot dog, no space. Also known as Frankfurter, or shortened to Frank.
Kate, this is not...
Where is the history of this?
I'm trying to tell you my story.
I understand. This is very important, though.
Are difficult to access.
Sausages,
there's no history.
There is history, though.
Claims about the invention of the hot dog are difficult to access. Doesn't exist. Nobody knows. It's a mystery.
The word Frankfurter comes from Frankfurt, Germany, where pork sausages similar to hot dogs were originated since around the 13th century. So
it was
another variation. This guy served some sausage rolls at the World Fair. This should have been my story, the invention of the hot dog.
Okay. Obviously, hot dogs were invented by Oscar Mayer.
1904.
Please close this.
1904.
Justin, I'm trying to tell you my story.
I'm trying to equate when he could have just used a hot dog instead of a cow udder. Why would you do that?
You want to use a hot dog, you wanted to use a cow udder. You didn't let me get to the best part.
That wasn't the best part.
No, when people saw him and he'd cause optimum outrage.
Optimum outrage.
He would then cut off the protrusion with a pair of scissors.
That's great. Smart guy.
Prankster.
Yeah, he's a pirate prankster. It was the 1900s.
He also once hosted a party where he invited only people whose last name was Bottom.
Yeah.
And he also bought tickets to a play, and he had 8 bald men get tickets all beside each other, and then he painted with a single letter on each of their heads, spelled out bollocks.
Was that the start of the Blue Men Group?
Some sources claim that it said the word shit.
Those are 2 different words.
I know. Okay. So, getting into like the bigger pranks here.
Oh wow, those were just
This is just
the
like
bottom,
the
bottom pranks.
Yes. He was also married. He was married the award of the Irish Chancery, whatever that means. And no, don't Google it. But then they got divorced, and then he went into voluntary exile in France.
Why?
Just FYI. I don't know. It was voluntary. I didn't even know it existed. How can you go into voluntary exile? I thought the whole act of being exiled was by another person. I think that's just called moving
away, isn't it?
Isn't that just called moving?
All right, then.
Okay.
Interesting.
The Court of Chancery.
It was a court which exercised equitable jurisdiction in Ireland until its abolition in part of the reform of the court system in 1877. So from 1290, that something doesn't jive here. The time doesn't jive. Or did you say he was at the beginning of the 1800s or 1900s?
No, 1900s. She was a ward of it.
Oh, award of. Not
Yeah.
the... Okay, I googled the award.
Not the
Soft
award.
brain
The
coming
award.
into effect.
The
Okay,
award.
that makes more sense. I thought he received like the Iron Cross or something like that.
No, he voluntary exiled himself to France. Why would he get the Iron Cross?
I don't know, because you said the award
I said
of the Court of Chancery.
ward. She was a ward of the Irish
Okay, you need to just
Chancery.
specify a little bit more next time.
I'm sorry you don't remember that we use the word ward, okay? It's a real
Yeah,
word
that's
that
a big
people
word.
use.
Right.
Okay. So, getting into one of the two bigger pranks that he pulled. The first one is called the Zanzibar Hoax. So, he was a student at Cambridge, and he was friends with Adrian Stephen, who is the brother of famous author and
Stephen.
poet, not even Stephen, of Virginia Woolf.
Ah, yes.
You know
What the
Virginia Woolf?
I've heard of her. I can't say that I'm well read enough to know what she's written.
She's written stuff. For sure, she's written stuff.
She's written stuff, okay. Great input. Okay, so it's WOOLF.
Yeah.
Adeline Virginia Woolf, 1882 to 1941. Most important modernist 20th century authors. Stream of consciousness as a narrative device. I guess that's this. Effectively, we're channeling Virginia Woolf by doing this.
What? In what way?
She is the pioneer in the use of stream of consciousness. That is completely what this is.
We are the pioneers
Of stream of
stream
consciousness.
of consciousness. That's a little bit of a bold statement.
Yeah, so she's fiction
Didn't
and
she
drama.
write a really famous book?
To the Lighthouse, a biography. The Waves, another biography.
Okay,
She really likes
Whatever.
herself.
whatever.
And Between the Ends.
So Cole was good friends with her brother. Small world,
Okay.
right? And they were students at Cambridge. So after these like little pranks that he's been playing, whatever, he's like, "Oh, I want to do something. I want to do something big." So Adrian Stephen is Virginia Woolf's brother. So this Stephen wants to take command of a platoon of German soldiers and lead them across the French frontier to cause an incident, whatever that means.
An incident.
Yes. So Cole came up with this idea that he's going to pose as the uncle of the Sultan of Zanzibar. This is a true story.
Okay.
The Sultan was visiting England, okay, at this time. And so Cole's like, oh, he's in town, so it's perfect. I'm going to pretend I'm his uncle. So Cole, Stephen, and three other of their friends dressed up in robes and turbans, and they met up with a town clerk who took them to an official reception by the mayor of where they lived. And then after this, and after they gave them like a tour of the sites, so this mayor and like a bunch of important people are walking them around, these fucking the 20-year-old jokesters, so dressed up like sultans, so showing them around the town that they live in.
These are like the beginning of YouTube pranksters.
Yes, I know. This is Logan Paul version 1.
Yeah, exactly.
Then, so after this reception, they took them back to the train station and they like ran away and made their escape. Anyway, so this story was posted in the newspaper and Cole became famous from here. And the mayor wanted to like punish him, but nothing ever came of it. So that's the first of the big ones. So there's the Zanzibar hoax. And the second one is the Dreadnought
It wasn't
hoax.
really a big hoax or anything. They just had a good
Well,
time.
it was a big deal back then,
Yeah,
right?
I guess,
People
like,
didn't
people
fucking
didn't
do
do
this,
stuff, yeah.
right? This is like highly like strange, very creative in this time, right? Also, totally would not be allowed today.
Yeah,
Nobody would
that
dress
is
up as a sultan or the uncle of a sultan today.
We don't know that. Maybe not in like Canada or the US or anything like that, but like, who knows? Maybe in the Middle East or something, that's a thing. We don't know that.
Okay.
Sultan of the Sea.
That's what you are.
Yeah.
You're the sultan of the sea. So the second one is the Dreadnaught hoax, which is like the big deal. Okay.
That's the title originally.
Right. That's
This
what
is-
I said before.
You're right. I thought I heard that before.
That's because I said it before.
Okay, great.
Okay, so Stephen, Adrian Stephen, Virginia's Wolf brother, was an officer on the HMS Hawk, and they were rivals with this HMS Dreadnaught. And on this Dreadnought, Stephen's cousin, the commander, William Fisher, worked there. Okay, so Stephen is on the HMS Hawks, and this Fisher guy, his cousin, is on the HMS Dreadnought. So Cole,
Her Majesty's ship. Found that out the other day. Random thing.
what is
Interesting fact.
Is that what HMS stands for?
Yeah.
Her Majesty's ship.
Yep.
That's also what they call my ass.
And it's sunk.
So this was Cole and Virginia Woolf. Okay, she was there too. Her brother, Guy Ridley, Anthony Buxton, and artist Duncan Grant, who I don't know who any of those people are, but maybe they're significant. They all have Wikipedia pages, so...
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Who disguised themselves with, like, help of a costumer person with skin darkeners and turbans.
Blackface.
Yes, so that they resembled members of the Abyssinian royal family. So,
Okay, so they've got a shtick here. They like impressing sultans and royal
they like
families.
pretending that they're royalty because they can get away with it. That's why, right? Because they're like proving that all this, I don't know, Navy shit is all dumb.
Right.
So the Abyssinian is now Ethiopia.
Okay.
So they were doing this to resemble members of the Abyssinian royal family. It's a bit of a stretch.
A little bit.
So one of the main limitations that they had with their disguises is that they weren't allowed to eat anything because their makeup would be ruined.
It kind of ruins the whole point.
I know. So they weren't allowed to
royalty.
eat. Yeah, whatever. So on February 7th, 1910, Cole organized with an accomplice to send a telegram to the Dreadnought. And the message said the ship had to be prepared for the visit of a group of princes from Abyssinia. And apparently this was actually like signed by a Foreign Office undersecretary because somehow he...
So they're getting, what you're saying is they're getting better at what they're doing.
Yeah, they're good at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're playing it here.
Oh, yeah.
They're hamming it up real good and getting away with it.
Yes.
Okay. Go on. I'm trying to set the stage in my mind's eye, my soft brain eye.
Is it set?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
set.
So they go to this station, the train station or whatever station they go to. And yes, train station. And Cole says that he is the Herbert Cholmondeley of the Foreign Office. This is not a real thing. The Herbert Cholmondeley does not exist. But this is what Cole tells the guy at the train station. So he comes up there and he says, yes, I'm the Herbert Cholmondeley of the Foreign Office. And somehow he's able to organize a train that way.
Like that's a position of power.
Right, but really it's nothing. So then this guy's like, oh, the Herbert Cholmondeley, he must be very important. So he gets him a train.
So I have a question.
Arranged a VIP coach for them.
If somebody were to do that today and use a made-up position within the government, would that still be like impersonating a government official?
I don't know, because it's not real. It's not a real thing.
Exactly. That's what I mean. So if somebody did that today...
Also, you wouldn't be able to do that today. You need ID for everything today.
I don't know. I'm pretty sure people still get charged with impersonating government officials. I mean, it happened in
Not
Suits.
the Herbert Cholmondeleys.
It happened in Suits, so it has to be real life.
That's not how the world works, Justin.
Go on.
Okay, so after they get on their VIP coach and head to the ship, the Navy welcomed the princes with an honor guard. And they could not find an Abyssinian flag, so they used the Zanzibar flag and played the Zanzibar national anthem instead. Well, we don't have this one, so we'll
this
just
one
use
that is
this
not
one.
even remotely related.
So
this one will do.
It makes sense.
Perfect.
So the Cole and his friends dressed up as these princes. They communicated in gibberish of words drawn from Latin and Greek. They asked for prayer mats. And they also attempted to bestow fake military honors on some of the officers. So it'd be like knighting them.
Right.
So How I originally found this story was the origins of the word bunga bunga.
Bunga bunga?
Bunga bunga, the like expression bunga bunga. So apparently...
I've never used that phrase.
Well, maybe you're not
in my life.
because you're not British and also because you're not cool.
All right.
So, according to different like reports, this word bunga bunga came from the Dreadnaught Hoax. So apparently when they were going around the ship, every time they saw something amazing or like they were like appreciating it, they'd be like bunga bunga. So now that's apparently where it came from.
I have never heard of that phrase.
I have. Bunga bunga. It has its own Wikipedia page, Justin.
Bunga bunga London. So
it might be an English phrase.
It definitely
But I've definitely
is.
heard it before.
Interesting. And it has a current resurgence in Italy too. Interesting. All right.
So there's bunga bunga.
It was
Bunga bunga, right?
Used in 2012 by the British motoring show Top Gear. That's Top Gear on BBC One.
Okay, not sponsored. So anyway, they kept shouting bunga bunga, whatever. That was their shtick. And then also the guy's cousin that is on the ship doesn't even recognize him. Both of his cousins are Virginia Woolf and her brother. That's his cousins on the commander of this ship. He doesn't recognize either of them.
Would you recognize your cousin though if they were under disguise?
In blackface?
In blackface, exactly.
I feel like I would, but who knows?
Right.
So basically this prank was uncovered and Horace de Vercoel sent a picture of themselves as the princes. You should look it up. It's pretty...
The
looks pretty
princes?
stupid. Yeah. Just look up Dreadnaught Hoax. It should come up. But also you at home should also look it up because it's funny.
Well, yeah, maybe we should have like a blog where we can put all this stuff up on.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves.
That is true.
So basically, the HMS Dreadnought was like really shit on for this because they didn't like do anything to like it could have been, I don't know, something bad, but really it was just a source of embarrassment.
Okay.
They also demanded that Cole would be arrested, but he did not because they didn't break any laws. Instead, except for Virginia Woolf, they were subjected to a symbolic thrashing on the buttocks.
A good old-fashioned royal spanking.
A symbolic thrashing on the buttocks.
Wow. So a bunch of adults impersonated fake government officials, got away with it because all they got was a good spank.
Yep.
Interesting night.
So that is the story of the Dreadnaught Hoax. Cole,
What a pirate prankster, eh?
Cole died of a heart attack in France
Was that a joke too? Or did he
in
actually
1936. No, he actually did. It wasn't a joke.
Gotcha.
Maybe greatest prank of all.
Bunga bunga.
So that
I'm going to have to incorporate that in my daily word use. Vernacular. Bunga bunga. I like that.
okay, you can be like Horace de Vercoel.
Yeah. Horace the pirate.
And now you know the story of the Dreadnaught Hoax and Horace de Vercoel.
I don't like him. I think he's a bit of a plug.
That was his thing.
Yeah, I get that, but I don't know. I feel like you could do better things.
Well, yeah.
You could be more productive in your life. Be a proper pirate, not just a
Well, yeah.
prankster pirate. All right. I don't know how long mine's gonna be. We'll try to get through this quick as I can.
Don't show me.
You don't have to look. My screen is a little bit bigger than yours, so I'll turn
I
it
have
on.
no screen.
Yeah.
You have the only screen.
You
So
have-
yes, it's bigger than my
You
screen.
had your phone, so that kind of counts. All right. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the Death Valley Germans. I don't know. Have you ever heard of that before?
The what now?
Death Valley Germans. Death Valley, you know, like the place in the United States. Real hot, real dry.
Yep.
Lots
Desert.
of space.
A valley
Germans.
of death.
Germans, I think it comes from the noun, the proper noun, German. They're from the country of Germany. So the Death Valley Germans, this is what they were dubbed as by the media. This, is, of course, wasn't their real name. But they were a family that went missing in Death Valley kind of back in the mid-90s, 1996. So in the morning of October 21st, 1996, Death Valley Park, he's a national ranger. His name was Dave Brenner. He was aboard a military helicopter.
National Ranger? Is Death Valley a national park?
Death Valley National Park, yes. DVNP.
Wow. And it's like so, like, the last place on my list to visit. Like,
I've heard a lot of things down
and also
there.
you hear about
Exhibit
like
A.
so many nice national parks. You're like, oh, it's
Right, yeah.
Yosemite and Jasper and then
Right.
Death Valley.
Yeah, it's not
Last
really
on my list.
It's not really somewhere that you would want to go.
Not on the top of my list.
Hold on,
because it's the last.
Yeah, exactly. I'll give you more
list.
evidence to support your theory.
Excellent.
So he was aboard a military helicopter. They were doing some routine aerial surveillance over the national park.
Routine military.
Yeah, apparently at the time that there was actually quite a bit of possible drug cooks going on.
Oh.
Kind of a la Breaking Bad kind of thing. So they were looking for like clandestine drug manufacturing
Breaking
labs.
Bad, the prequel.
Yeah, in 1996.
Better Call
In Death
Saul.
Valley. Everybody's in the
Better call
underwear.
Dave Brennan.
Yeah. Well, they should have called Dave Brenner really a little bit earlier than that. Around 11 a.m., he saw something he didn't really expect. There was a vehicle in the wash of the Anvil Canyon. So that's about 2.4. Pretty sure that's like
a riverbed or something?
Yeah, kind of in a valley, I believe. So it's approximately 2.4 miles downstream from a place called Willow Spring, which was the head of Anvil Canyon. So I'm guessing this explains your question. Willow Spring is at the top, and then you go down this wash, and at the bottom of the wash is Anvil Canyon.
Okay.
So,
Sure.
yes, an old riverbed. So, this was weird for a few different reasons. There wasn't any real or like proper legal road that went down into Anvil Canyon anymore. At one time, it was the only route that you could use to get into Butte Valley. Miners were using it kind of at that time in the park.
Miners?
Yeah, back in the day.
Like young people?
No, miners.
Oh, miners.
Yes.
ER.
ERS,
Not OR.
Not miners. Correct. Unaccompanied minors. That was actually the prequel released in 1996 to that terrible movie, Unaccompanied Minors. Have you ever heard of that movie?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Unaccompanied minors, but talking about people who mine.
Yeah, exactly.
Not minors.
It did not sell very well.
Not.
So, the opening of the talc mines in Warm Spring Canyon in the north, there was a good road in there to the talc mines. The Butte Valley miners kind of stopped using this road, and it kind of overgrew. Nobody really knew about it. Anvil Canyon, basically, because that road shut down, nobody else went there after that. It was no longer really a thing. That's important. So the second piece of weird bit was that Brenner was observing that the vehicle appeared to be just a regular old soccer mom minivan. Kind of weird because you remember we're in Death Valley National Park here. You would need usually...
Soccer moms, they're taking over.
Yeah, you would usually need like a four-wheel drive car to get through here because it's rocky and you're at the bottom of a canyon. Anvil Canyon, in fact. So it was actually part of an official wilderness area. You couldn't even use vehicles in there anymore. So this van had no reason to be there, literally whatsoever. So this passenger van couldn't really get there. So what they did is they went and they landed to touch down the old helicopter, and Brennan went to investigate and inspect the vehicle. It was pretty much a brand new 96 Plymouth Voyager van. It had California license plates, lots of dust on it, kind of.
Wait, sorry, is Death Valley in California?
I believe.
Or is it
I want to
in
say it's in
Nevada?
like New Mexico or Nevada. We're not American.
Sorry, we don't know.
I apologize, but name like 10 capital cities and we'll talk. Okay, so Death Valley National Park, it straddles the California-Nevada border.
Well, we were pretty fucking close.
Yeah, so it's there. The van, it was stuck in the wash, so I'm guessing, it's an old riverbed. It was right up to the axles in the sand. 2 rear tires were both flat, no front tire. These guys...
No front tire at all?
I may have embellished. The front tire was also flat. Tracks left in the sand by the van. Made it look like it made it at least 200 feet or so with the flat rear tires. Guess they could tell by the skid marks and stuff. Definitely shouldn't have been driving. The van was locked, so they took down the license plate, took a picture or two, and then he forwarded it on to his Death Valley National Park headquarters kind of thing. So this van's in the middle of nowhere, stuck up to its axles in sand, flat tires.
Maybe
Things
the
are
helicopter brought it in.
That's true. Maybe the helicopter brought it in. So they checked and they found out that this vehicle was reported stolen by the LA Police Department on September 10th, 1996.
Of the same year.
Correct. So that is a full 40 days after he's finding the van. It was reported stolen. So the vehicle, the van, this weird van, this green van, was owned by Dollar Rent-A-Car. So it was a rented minivan. And it was rented to a group of 4 German tourists in LA back on July 8th. So this van, again, it was found October, and this van was rented to them in July.
And reported missing in September.
Correct. So they were using it for a long period. They were here for a long time. Vehicle had been due back at the rental agency on July 26th. It had never been returned, so they waited a few days to report it being stolen. But
2 days. They waited
they apparently waited at least 30 days past when a vehicle was due to report it stolen. Why would you do that? Doesn't really make sense. Yeah, that seems
kind of fucking stupid. What a terrible business model.
Yeah, could you imagine waiting 30 days to file a missing persons report?
Yeah. No.
Well, yeah, my family's been gone for a month. Could you imagine doing that for a car?
No, sorry, you can't. But no, why would you even do that with a car to begin with?
That's what I mean. That doesn't really make sense.
In what business do you if you have an agreement, I'll bring this back.
Well, I guess everything, because you look at companies and they pay invoices usually net 30, so 30 days after it's invoiced. But I think
it's different when you're charging a company than just some random German family.
Or when you're stealing a car.
Yeah.
That's another thing.
Yeah, that probably happens.
Yeah.
I feel like that would happen more often.
Well, it obviously does, because the names of the renters turned up in an August 14th Interpol alert on them.
What is that?
4 people, so that's Interpol in the European, in the EU and Europe, I think. I think that's kind of I'm guessing what their FBI would be like. Let's figure it out.
CIA, Secret Service kind of thing?
So Interpol is the International Criminal Police Organization.
Oh, yeah.
Known as Interpol. It's the international organization that facilitates international police cooperation.
So it's like the FBI of the world.
Effectively,
the
it looks
World
like
FBI.
It, yeah. World FBI. It's a pretty big joint. So, the 4 people were reported missing. These 4 Germans go by the name of Egbert Rimkus. He was 34. His son...
Egbert Rimkus?
Yeah, that's correct. Egbert Rimkus. That's Rimkus. Rimkus. Egbert Rimkus.
It's no Holman Dolman.
No, it's not quite. But he was also with his son, George Weber. He was 11. Egbert's girlfriend, Cornelia Meyer. She was 28, as well as her son, Max Meyer. So it looks like they were a blended family.
What? Yeah, that's a complicated...
It's a complicated
Wait, how old is his son?
Son was 11, and her son was 4.
Oh, okay. I was confused. I thought you were saying that the 28-year-old was going out with the 11-year-old.
No, that's frowned upon even in Germany.
I was very confused.
So they had left Frankfurt and came into the U.S. in Seattle on July 8th. So then they flew, I guess it was a transfer flight. They went right to Los Angeles where they got this rental van. Egbert didn't have his driver's license with him, so Cornelia, his wife, was recorded as the driver on the rental paperwork. So the van was due back July 26th. They had tickets on TWA, I'm guessing that's a flight agency, to return to Germany July 27th. They weren't on that flight, and there was no evidence of them ever leaving the U.S. So for the first week or so, they based themselves in the San Clemente area of Southern California. They did basic tourism stuff, kind of went and I'm guessing they saw some boardwalks and some beaches, typical Californian things.
Typical California thing.
Yeah. On July 12th, so Egbert Rimkus, He made a call back to his bank in Dresden. He requested an extra $1,500 be wired to a bank in San Clemente.
$1,500?
Yeah, $1,500.
That's not that much.
Well, that's
Get it
a big
together,
chunk of
Egbert.
change. That's a big chunk,
Yeah, but if you're going to be international criminals, you better get it fucking right.
You don't know these are criminals, though. But if this appears to be a plain old family of four with...
Don't buy it for 1 second.
So...
That girl's dating an 11-year-old.
That's right. At that point, things kind of get fuzzy. But there was a camera that they had also found kind of in the area. They're assuming it was them because they were obviously on the camera. So they went up and down the California coast for a bit. They ended up in Las Vegas and staying at the Treasure Island Hotel. I guess Egbert likes to gamble.
Egbert, getting it in.
My boy! Obviously, it wasn't great. Didn't wire that $1,500 back to Germany. So maybe that was his gambling money. So on July 21st, Egbert faxed a request from the hotel to his ex-wife and son's mother, Heike Weber.
Heike?
Hieki. Heike Weber, requesting more funds yet be sent to him. Money was never sent, so I think he maybe had a bit of a gambling problem. That's what I'm getting here. So they checked out at Treasure Island on July 22nd, and then they proceeded to Death Valley from there. There was a furnace...
On July 22nd?
Correct.
They found this car in October.
You're correct. So receipt records at the Furnace Creek Visitor Center show that on July 22nd, 2 copies of the booklet Death Valley National Monument Museum text were sold in, obviously, the German language. So none were sold July 23rd. A copy of that booklet was found in the abandoned van, so that basically confirms they were...
Conclusive evidence!
Effectively, yeah, you're right. July 22nd, they were at the visitor center in Furnace Creek. So, back at the van in Anvil Canyon, going back to where our boy, Dave Brenner, is investigating this van.
Dave Brenner.
He should be...
He's
That
in
is
the
a
National Park System.
all-American name.
That is an all
Chad Smith.
Dave Brenner.
Hey, I'm Dave Brenner. I'm the DVNP ranger for the area. Nice to meet you.
Now this sounds like a gay porno.
It could be. We don't know. Germans were involved.
Whoa, why are you isolating our German audience?
All right, so they had flown in another helicopter, brought in this special investigator Eric Inman. From the previous day, no other footprints were visible, period. Only the footprints they brought in with them, kind of thing.
Only the footprints from our own feet.
Yeah. Great job, Scooby. So, some food wrappers were found near the van, as well as some fecal material and toilet paper. They deemed these as the cat holes, so I guess they had to take a shit, dug themselves a hole.
Wait, so were they staying here?
I don't think so.
Were they living there?
We will find out. So, Inman went back to the helicopter to Badwater Road in Death Valley, where he met with representatives of the Inyo Sheriff's Office, like Inyo but Inyo, one word. Detective Jim Jones.
Thank you for that explanation.
I was thinking of The Office and shove it in your butt.
And
or shove it up your butt.
You don't even have it right. They would have to be
That's
up
okay.
yo.
My brain is soft. We're going to make it. So he talked with the sheriff's office, and they went ahead and proceeded to the van's location as well. And Inman was flown back in at 1 p.m. So the DVNP, they've got money. They're flying in, whereas they're making these sheriff fuckers take a stupid car.
Yeah, they fly by in the
which
helicopter.
obviously isn't great, because there's one stuck van. And I'm going to just show you a quick picture here.
Well,
here's the van in Death Valley, and you can clearly see...
that's a van.
You can see where it was traveling for quite some time on some busted-ass rims. They were rolling on 18s, I think. I didn't check.
What, is that an expression?
I've
never heard that before. Bunga bunga.
Bunga bunga, dude. Alright, so there was quite a few different things that they were finding in the van. They kind of decided to investigate this. There was an American flag labeled the Butte Valley Stone Cabin. This cabin, also known as the Geologist's Cabin, is in Butte Valley, 4.1 miles west from the van's location in Anvil Spring.
Okay.
So looks like they've obviously been at this cabin at some point. They brought the flag with them. So some other things that they found of note in the van were 2 unopened bottles of beer, 1 empty bottle. It was Bud Ice. Not a fine German beer, but a good old American Bud Ice. 1 empty and 1 3/4 full bottle of bourbon. Several empty large water and juice containers, luggage, a bunch of exposed rolls of film, a camera. There's 1 single sleeping bag still in its box, and 1 empty Coleman sleeping bag box as well. They had a tent. Looks like they had a pipe with some tobacco, Swiss bank cards, a Citicorp card for Egbert because our boy, for whatever reason, I don't know if that's a bank, more bank cards. Card from the Seahorse Resort, numerous toys, and an unused compact spare tire and a jack.
Those all seem like pretty standard things.
For the most part, yeah, especially traveling, there's a bit of booze there, but that's just some other stuff that they found in the van, just to give you, set the scene in your mind's eye, right?
Sure.
So they took the van out. They used the towing company and they towed this van out. Back at park headquarters, they looked at visitor logbooks.
Back at the headquarters.
Yeah, this reads like a bad episode of Rescue Rangers. Oh, Law and Order maybe, yeah.
Rescue Rangers.
That's what I was thinking more of. Nothing so fancy as Law and Order.
Theme song go? They had a great theme song, didn't they?
Yeah, and they all had kick-ass names too, like Rick Flame. They're all stupid.
Rescue Rangers.
So they found them. We're going over the pass. It was difficult to read, but it was written July 23rd, 96 in German. We are going over the pass. Signed Connie, Egbert, George, with no E, Max. The pass was referred to in the logbook entry, should have been Mangle Pass, which was also another few miles from Anvil Canyon, southwest end of Butte Valley, and the only means by which to cross the Panamint Mountain Range.
This pass?
Yeah.
That's what they're referring to?
Yeah, this Mangled Pass. That's the only pass. It's extremely rugged. You need a 4-wheel drive vehicle, a good driver. Like, it's not something that you're going to make in grandma's minivan. So, it actually...
Clearly not.
Exactly. And Exhibit A being this van.
Exhibit A, Egbert.
Exhibit A, Egbert was a shitty driver, didn't have his license, so it might have even been the wife driving.
Didn't have 4-wheel drive.
Right. So they checked, no hotels, they didn't stay at the Furnace Creek campground or anything like that. Nobody knows where these folks are. But on October 23rd, this is after, of course, they found the van, first searchers were in place. So they had some... the China Lake Mountain Rescue Group. There was 9 trackers there, 8 mounted units as well. Like they brought out the cavalry for these people. But I guess you've got missing German tourists in Death Valley. Things aren't looking so great. So they found another Bud Ice beer bottle planted in the sand in Anvil Canyon by a bush about 1.5 miles downstream from the van. So somebody
abandoned the van and started walking.
Yeah, it looks like at least 1 Bud Ice. Bud Ice.
At least 1.
At least 1. So match those found in the van, obviously. It looks like they stopped here for a little while. There was a large seat print next to the bottle. It looks like in the heat of the day, they took a break.
Egbert planted his ass and had himself a
Sat his ass down in front of a bush because it was probably
hang on, kids, I need to eat. No, wait, he's German.
He's German,
hang on,
so
kids. Yeah. I need to eat and drink my Bud Ice.
Yeah. A good old staple.
All Germans sound like the pigs from Shrek, right?
So they were taking a look everywhere. October 24th, second day, they brought in more search teams, expanded the search area. They were looking through a huge area at this point. There was also 2 helicopters involved, still looking and shuttling supplies for the searchers because it's hot. It's Death Valley.
Using a lot of resources on these non-Americans.
But you figure just like when in Thailand, when the boys were trapped in the cave, you pull out, the world is watching.
Yeah.
You pull out all the stops.
Was the world watching at this point? Was it all over the news or what?
I don't know, but that is to be determined.
If you were around in 1996, I was 3. Please report.
I was 4.
Please tell us if this was all over the news.
Yeah, please do tell us. All right, so day 3, they expanded it even further. They had all the way to the mouth of Anvil Canyon and the far side of the Maid Valley.
Okay, they looked all over the place.
So they're searching literally everywhere, still with helicopters. 4th day of the search, October 26th, was the final day of the search. So the teams checked the northern end of Warm Spring Canyon as well as the mines where they might have gone. They searched Warm Spring Road. They were all kind of looking basically everywhere, wherever humans could hide, anywhere that was a walkable distance. Finally, an aerial reconnaissance was made by 2 helicopters in all quadrants as well. It was hampered by high winds.
Aerial reconnaissance?
Yes. So isn't that rebirth? I know that would be rebirth, right?
Reconnaissance.
So at the end of the day, no new clues found since the beer bought on the first day. No hope whatsoever that the party would be found alive. Search was called off. Germans are gone.
Bye.
Yeah. See you later. The Americans will only try 4 days to find you.
Hey, they brought up fucking helicopters and shit.
They did. It was a very competent search team. They couldn't find anything. Over 45 researchers. 2 helicopters in the air at any given time. 8 horses. Cost of the search was about $80,000 in 1996 money. I wonder let's find out what that was today.
It wasn't that long ago. My guess is 80,000. My guess is 100,000.
I think it's got to be more. How do we do that?
Inflation calculator.
Smart. Inflation calculator.
Oh my god. This is so stupid. We don't need to know this.
Let's just check.
Excuse me.
So, 80,000 in what year? That was 1996. Would cost what in today's money? 119,000. And that's Canadian.
Yeah,
80,000 Canadian to 119. So we're talking like they spent $8 or $9 on this search. So
in Canadian money.
In Canadian dollars, they spent a lot, but not so much. 250 different people were involved at one time or another. Couldn't find them. Mm-hmm. So in the years since 96, more searches have even been made, some by search and rescue teams, some by private groups. They still weren't able to find it. There was this guy, Emmett Harder, who had prospected in the Butte Valley area for many years. He did a bunch of searches himself.
Prospector.
He even got, the old prospector, mining for gold. Mm-hmm. He even checked pictures removed from the Germans' cameras. Their Warm Spring logbook entry of the 23rd, it suggested the Germans made camp in the upper reaches of the Hanapa Canyon on July 22nd or so. Environmental conditions at the time, it's definitely worth mentioning. Death Valley, obviously, it's pretty hot in the summer, especially backcountry. Mm-hmm. The highs of those days were 51 degrees Celsius or 124 degrees Fahrenheit.
Ew.
The low was an absolutely chilly 96 degrees or 36 Celsius.
Was an absolutely chilly 36 degrees.
Right. So that is at Furnace Creek. So due to don't forget, they're in the kind of mountainous regions.
That's fucking hot.
It's hot.
How does
we had 36 the other day.
What?
51 is hot, but take into account, so air temperature drops about 5 degrees Fahrenheit or 3 degrees Celsius.
They fucking died in the heat and then got burned to death because it was so hot. They turned to literal dust. Possible
literal dust. So because they were higher up, it would have been a little bit cooler, but it's still pretty hot.
Yeah.
They're saying it most likely would have been around 42 Celsius or 107 and 26 Celsius or 79 degrees.
So they were never found.
Well, we are actually going through right now the site that I originally found. It was posted on Reddit a long time ago, and it was this guy's blog, I guess, on www.otherhand.org, and it's this guy. I believe his name was Mahood. His last name was Mahood. Let me just find it. Tom Mahood. They were a pair of hikers and Les Walker. Tom Mahood is the guy that got sucked in. So I don't know if we're going to have too much time to really go into this much more.
What do you mean got sucked in?
He got sucked into doing some of the research on his own time back in 2008. That's when he first found out about this story.
Yeah, no,
so
this
from
ain't a
96,
cliffhanger episode. You got to tell us how it ends.
Well, if you want to,
give me a goddamn conclusion.
I can. I don't want to spoil it for people if they do want to look into it, though. It's very lengthy.
Well, look into it if you want to, but give me the cliff notes.
All right. So we'll try to shorten things up here. He was on the internet, and he saw some references on the Death Valley forum to these people. He tried getting involved, getting a bunch more people to take a look. Long story short, to wrap it up, spoiler alert, if you want to look into this on your own, feel free to do so, but don't listen anymore. So they have found some traces of these people. So they had booked airplane seats back on July 29th, and they never arrived. The car was found October 21st. October 26th, they called off the search. And Les Walker and Tom Mahood in 2009, so a year after he came across this story, they found some traces of the family. Or at least what they're thinking was the family. So they found two skeletal remains of adults, one male, the other female. The identification belonging to the missing tourists were near the bodies. There was no DNA evidence recovered from the bones, unfortunately, but they're obviously fairly certain that these are the two adults. The remains of the children, though, I believe are still kind of being searched. I do know that there was the skeleton of a boy that was found, but
were they found close to the van?
I can't go into that. You got to look into it yourself, or
why?
Because this goes over this otherhand.org is.
Just tell me if they found them close to the van.
I don't know. I don't recall. This is a long
time. Well, then if you don't know, say you don't know.
For everybody listening, definitely take a look at otherhand.org. This is Tom Mahood's personal blog, I guess, of his recounting of it. I remember when I originally read through this entire story, it took me about 2 hours, I think, to get through the whole thing. There's a lot of information on it. But it goes to like sneaker prints that they find more water bottles and stuff. The weather was pretty bad, but yeah, they did miles and miles of searching on their own, which is great for him. But yeah, they were trying to kind of they were found a long ways away, I believe. It wasn't anywhere close, if I recall correctly, but they don't really know for sure if that's them too, right? So just wrapping this up, kind of in what the area that they were found must have obviously been somewhere that hasn't yet been searched, right? Because they searched everywhere in that area. They looked everywhere for traces of these bodies. So who knows really what happened to them. Egbert may have left Connie and the kids at some sheltered place and proceeded onward to search for help, never to return. There was a sleeping bag found near an AT&T relay tower with German canteens found as well. That's what I mean. There's a lot of details to this that really make the story. So look into it on your own time, because it's a big, long escapade of how they find all this stuff. And it's just scattered everywhere. And they don't really... Like, he was a smart guy.
Like, no rhyme or reason.
Yeah, this Egbert guy was a very smart dude. The military facility... There was a military facility nearby that would have been marked on the map. So he probably would have known maybe that would have been like a good option. Maybe that's why they went in the direction they did. But they did find some bones and stuff. And I think they found some bones that weren't
go back
even...
Up. There's a map there.
Yes, I don't want to... It shows... The map that we're looking at kind of shows where the van was, where they found the bottle, where they may have gone to try.
So we're talking like miles away in between.
Miles and miles.
So they must have had food. Like they would.
They may have had some food, or they didn't. Right?
Iguanas or something.
They were eating bugs or something. Like they go through the different washes that they found and stuff, and we're looking at elevation changes of like there's 1,000 meters of elevation change on these routes that they may have gone.
Cool.
So look into it when you have the time. It's a very fascinating story.
So some of the story is we don't know.
Well, exactly. We don't know.
Basically, a family went missing in the desert, and we don't know why.
They don't know why. They don't know how. They may have found them. They may have not.
Mystery.
It's a kind of a big mystery.
Bunga bunga, dude. Bunga bunga.
Thanks for listening. I hope your brain is a little bit more soft.
Okay. You didn't want to. You don't have any final reflections.
Final reflections. I think pranksters are dumb. I don't like pirate pranksters, especially. German tourists, please be careful while exploring Death Valley National Park. Don't date 11-year-old kids. That is also frowned upon. I had a good time.
In fact, illegal.
Illegal, yes. I had a good time. Did you have a good time, Clarke?
I had a good time.
That's great.
And I hope you had a good time.
Yeah, we'll see about polishing these things up as we go. But for now, that's all we have. Hopefully you made it all the way to the end. It's almost an hour, apparently. We talked a lot.
Well, we said an hour. We said 45 minutes to an hour. This is, in my opinion, the perfect length of a podcast.
That's true.
Who listens to 3-hour podcast? Joe Rogan.
Bye, Joe!